First things first, Hugh Grant. Everyone's raving about him, everyone's praising him, and rightfully so, because he is so good in this against type role. When you first meet Mr. Reed, he's very polite and pleasant, but you can tell there's something under the surface, there's intent. It doesn't feel sinister, but it just feels uncomfortable. And the first half an hour, 45 minutes of the film where we're just literally meeting Mr. Reed and he's talking to these girls, and it just gets slowly more uncomfortable. The more he goes on and on talking to these girls and they start noticing all the red flags. He says there's a blueberry pie in the oven, but the candle on the table is blueberry pie scented. Hugh Grant on this role, he relishes every second of screen time. He is disarmingly charming, and he's also kind of darkly funny. There's a couple of lines that got chuckles from people in the cinema, myself included. It's one of those parts where you can't imagine another actor playing it, and that's when you know they've knocked it out of the park. The film is technically a horror thriller, and there certainly are those elements in there, but it's really much more of a psychological game of wits between Mr. Reed and these two Mormon missionary girls. As you see in the trailer, Mr. Reed is trying to challenge the beliefs of these two girls, like deep down, what do they truly believe? And it was really interesting watching him break down religion. He goes on this really big monologue talking about all the different religions in the world and how they're all kind of iterations of each other. They're all pretty much the same basic stories and people, just with different interpretations and meanings. And he does it in a really funny way by talking about Monopoly, Lana Del Rey, Radiohead, and Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, I'm being serious. Hugh Grant does a Jar Jar Binks impression in this film. If that doesn't sell you, nothing will. But it was really engaging watching Hugh Grant's character, Mr. Reed, break all this down to these two girls and explaining his perspective about religion and trying to find the ultimate religion of the world. And this film will probably piss off some people, and some people will probably see it as being anti-religious because of how Hugh Grant's breaking it all down in the film and how it's all the same thing. I myself am not a religious person at all, remotely. I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I'm not gonna shit on other people's beliefs and their faiths. If that's what you believe, that's what you believe. And if it gives you a purpose and if it makes you happy, all the power to you. So I was pretty glued to the screen watching these characters debate each other about religion and belief, and the large chunk of this film is the characters talking and debating with each other. The horror elements and the blood is really few and far between, so when it happens, it actually feels kind of surprising and shocking. If you're going into Heretic expecting a full-blown horror film with lots of blood and loads of tension and suspense, you might be disappointed because it's mainly dialogue. I for one found this film thoroughly engaging thanks to an awesome lead performance in Hugh Grant. The two girls were also really good as well, and I was really intrigued by the subject matter and the questions that the film asks through the characters in this really horrific situation. And some people might see it as a bit preachy and them trying to bash you over the head with a message and a point of view, and there are some times where it does threaten to do that, but for me it never tips the scale completely. It rides that line pretty well.